Dispatching, I got a call of an armed robbery in process. I got the canine, the air unit set up a perimeter. We were chasing him. We pulled the car over, arrested them, and it was him.
And my cousin.
Go to Dear Future Wifey podcast.
Is it this?
Yeah.
Me, you're my starter, but I got other ones on the bench, and
all right, we're gonna watch this one. Alba valid. They valid. It's just, hey man, they be saying some crazy stuff. I do not.
They are comedians. If people don't know, they are comedians. So
yeah, I just don't approve of some of that message. But we gonna watch it, bro. We gonna watch it.
What else would you tell me, baby?
That you my point guard.
Yes, and that you love me,
but I like them.
Right. So I was in a relationship I was okay with that as long as I was first. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that. I want, the women to know out there. I didn't know Jesus. I didn't, know who I was. Would you say, babe, I had no value?
No, you had no value. You had no worth. You did not know who you were.
He said you didn't know yourself.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous because a man can tell you what you're lacking right off jump and they can take full advantage of that. He took full advantage of that. You not knowing yourself enough, you ended up with this. Oh my goodness.
My God. Oh my gosh.
No.
Right. And I'm 17.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm a teenager, and I was preconditioned to think this way because my mother divorced my father for infidelity, and I'd always thought if you could just forgive him, our family would stay together.
Oh, that's deep.
So that was not a deal breaker for me, as long as I knew about it. Now he knows if I found out about it, we'd have a problem.
But if he told you in advance, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
So if he said, "Hey, listen, tomorrow."
I love you, but there's somebody else. It's 3 somebody else's. Yeah. For every season.
Word, you got them on rotation?
Winter, summer, spring, fall.
Funeral home, back alley.
What about the third?
Because whoever got winter got to have a worse death. Whoever got you in the wintertime got to have the worst death. Cause he getting too personal. The summer dude, he dying, but it's like he just get to look at you, right? Cause it's too hot. The spring dude, he gotta pay for everything. So it's like he dying, but hey, at least I get some free stuff. The fall dude, it's like, yeah, fall dude cook because I gotta take people to Thanksgiving. But the winter dude, it's the winter dude that's the high value target, because that means buddy putting in work through all types of conditions, and so they all gotta die equal, bro. It's like, what do you mean?
Bro, I got this little shorty lined up. I'm gonna go run through and I'm gonna smash it. I'll see you the next day.
Well, he would never say that.
It was usually after the fact.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a hiccup last night. Just heads up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A hiccup.
You were saying after the fact?
Right.
As long as he confessed prior from you finding out, you said that's cool.
Yeah.
That's okay.
In fact, before he married me, he's like, I don't know if I'll ever be faithful. And I said, that's okay. So I walked down the aisle knowing I was marrying his worst, meaning that if he were to do something, the worst would be him stepping out.
And then in your marriage, were y'all faced with that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
How soon?
Oh, from the gate. Yeah. I came from, my dad had 10 kids by 6 different women.
Wow.
So I have 6 brothers. And
Yeah. It's in the bloodline. It's in the bloodline. And it sucks because they cooked that lady in the comments. They cooked her bad. Sheesh. Come on, man. It's just the first reaction. Don't get too stressed out.
Boy, we just started and I'm already tired, folks.
Truth is, I'm tired.
And all of us, just kind of womanizers, if you will.
Yeah.
Exodus 20 verse 5 talks about how the sins of your forefathers will visit you. Well, I'm telling you, them demons visited me for real. And so, even my dad, who was in my life for 48 years until he transitioned, he always told me that would be a struggle because that was his struggle.
Right.
And it was my brothers who are older than me struggle.
That's real.
And so that's the demon that we just had to fight.
Right.
So did he tell you it'll be a struggle?
Did y'all actually fight it?
We're gonna find out.
Did he actually fight? Did they fight it? It didn't sound like there was a lot of resistance in there. Oh my goodness, yo.
Yeah.
Was the resistance in the room at any point in this relationship? And then it's like, bro, boy.
Struggle, but tell you, son, you can overcome it? Did he try to tell you tools, or did he just say, this is just who we are, men are men?
He said, that's who you are, men are men.
Right.
And he said, but the one thing with you, he said, I'm hoping you don't spread your seed like I did with 10 kids, 6 women. He said, please get one woman and have all your children by her, which I've been able to pull that off. We have 5 adult children who we had 5 kids in 6 years, 11 months and 16 days.
Wow.
3 boys, 2 girls. And now we almost got 6 grandkids. Well, 5.5 right now.
Right.
So we're in that season now.
Yeah.
So you felt like you still honored your father's request by not spreading your seed amongst everybody.
That's right.
But you succumbed to the ideology that, hey, men just can't be faithful.
That part. It's interesting. I was out shooting craps one night at this place, and illegal place. And so while I'm shooting dice, this young lady was with me. It wasn't her.
No.
And one of the gentlemen, he said, hey, man, is your dad Alonzo still? I said, yeah. He said, I remember when he would come in this same room and he would have different females with him. And to me, that was a flex. I'm like, that's what's.
Your brother got rep.
No, the dad. His dad got raped.
They talking about his dad like he a prestige cheater. This is crazy. They talking about Pops like he a prestige cheater. Your dad got rank? Yo, I don't know.
I'm curious to like what their kids have to say about that.
Up. And then this older gentleman, he said, is your grandfather Lil Burn still? I said, it is. He said, I remember when he used to come in this same room and he used to have different women with him. When he made that comment, it wasn't cute. Now, when the gentleman who knew my dad, that was cute. But when the second gentleman said it about my grandfather, I was like, wait a minute. At the time, my son, who's 33, he was 3 at the time. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is going to go from Lil Burn to Alonzo to Reggie and then Isaiah.
Right.
And so when I left that night with the young lady, normally I would go upstairs and, do what you do. And I dropped her off and kept moving. I drove home scared that night because I was like, wait a minute, because I grew up in church. I was saved, but I wasn't delivered.
So how old were you during that time?
21, 22 years old.
So that was at the beginning of your marriage?
23, exactly, 23.
So a couple of years in your marriage.
Yep.
And you were okay being out in public with women.
Right.
She was okay with it. But that moment, you had this Kairos moment where you was like, hold on.
Right. Exactly. Because I grew up in the pews. My dad pastored for almost 40 years. So I still had an awareness of God.
So your dad pastored for 40 years.
No one is exempt from sin, but
your dad pastored for 40 years. And okay. I mean, this is his testimony. So it's like I got so much I want to say, but it's like if this is if this is the end result that you overcame this, then it's like there's no point in like trying to like plot and call you out for what you are, like what you did, what you're not doing no more. But if you're giving us this video and you're talking all this, and this is something that you're still actively doing, this is crazy work.
And so, but that scared me that night. That did something to me.
So from a spiritual standpoint, you watched your father be unfaithful, live that life, preach the gospel, probably was dynamic with it, was amazing.
Sure.
And you accepted that this is just how men are. And men of the cloth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was your grandfather a pastor?
Deacon. Yeah. So, yeah. And see, the Bible says in Romans chapter 7, verse 18, that there dwelleth no good thing in the flesh.
Right.
So in other words, we all have an evil nature.
Absolutely.
Through God's grace that we're trying to manage.
Yes.
You know, and that's a daily thing, because I believe you can, like I said earlier, you can be saved and not delivered. You know, deliverance is a process.
Absolutely.
And that's why one of the things that have helped me is Isaiah 58:6. It says that when you fast, you loose bands of wickedness. And you undo heavy burdens. So my wife would tell you, there's been many days where I've had to push my plate back to fight my own personal demons, because we all got them.
That's good.
Yeah.
See, what I love about you.
So I feel it. I get it. How you doing, Shambam? I get it, but it's like the proper thing to do if you're a pastor of a congregation and you're suffering from adultery or a sin that you know is like something that will kind of sever how you supposed to interact with the Bible and interact with the Holy Spirit, you're supposed to step down until you're supposed to step down until whatever thing you're battling with gets solved and fixed and out of the way. Then you can come back. So if this is something that you're struggling with, you're not supposed to keep just preaching every week and acting like it's not happening. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Reggie, is that you're 1,000% transparent.
Right.
The reason why I love you is because my whole podcast was built off of that. I said, we need to find healing. I said I was broken. I had just, I was 5 years post my divorce. And I said, I can't be the only person struggling like this. I can't be the only person that is a Christian that struggles with things of the flesh. And I said, I want to create a platform that would provide for others what I wish was provided for me.
My God.
And I said, I'll sit at the feet of people and learn. And it came from the scripture, confess your faults one to another so that you may be healed.
Sure.
And so I said, okay, God, all right, I'm going to do that. And the Bible says people are overcome by the word of your testimony and by the blood of the Lamb. So I said, God, I want the blood of the Lamb to be the foundation of this podcast. And I want this platform to be a platform that helps people overcome. And when I say that you two are the epitome of the foundation of what this podcast represents.
Praise
and
God.
I honor y'all for walking in this thing called marriage and this walk of Christ and saying, hey, listen, y'all ain't got no stones to throw at me.
Right.
Because hey, listen, I walk freely.
Right.
And that's what I love. I want to back up. By you knowing this man was like this, what made you decide to marry him?
I thought that the title husband would change him. I did. I walked in thinking that if he was my husband and I was his wife, that a title could make you change. I learned very quickly that titles do not make people change. No, and I also thought that if he would own me, I wanted to be Mrs. Steele. If he had ownership, then he would treat me accordingly. Oh, God. I had to learn that way that wasn't true either. And so I really, I just knew that if we could just be united, that would make a man change, but it doesn't. And plus, I needed to change also.
Keep in mind, she was 17.
Yeah.
She was still young.
Right.
So.
This is one of those things. It's like, no matter like how you paint it, she still got like manipulated in a way. Like, not speaking on their foundation of marriage, because I don't want to ever disrespect somebody's marriage. That's not my place to do that. But if I was to just do like a general like opinion about what I'm hearing right now, it sounds like at that time in his life, she was so easily impressionable, and she probably was just, happy that somebody was just even going for her. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully though, like, cause I don't know these people.
Well, sometimes people do outlandish or obscure things for love, or to keep or maintain what they already have. And it
just sounds crazy.
It does. No, it does.
2 teenagers getting married, and I was looking for fulfillment. I was wanting to fulfill a void that I was missing. Of course, that void could only be filled by Jesus. I didn't know that then. Right. But when I found out I was pregnant before we got married, I ended up getting kicked out of my house by my parents. They were very upset by me, with me, and was moved into his parents' home, who were bishop and first lady. And I got thrusted from a Catholic lifestyle to storefront Pentecostal tambourine, getting healed, the same 30 people getting prayed for every Sunday church.
Facts.
And when I was in that environment, I didn't know what was going on. I was the project every Sunday because they were trying to push me down, I thought. And
grabbed by your stomach.
And because I wouldn't give in, I have a demon now. And so I was forced into this.
So I was the project every Sunday.
I was thrust into this lifestyle because when I found out I was pregnant, we were actually broken up during the summer.
Okay.
We're going to college. I had a full ride scholarship to college for classical piano. He had one for
classical
baseball.
piano.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I was a classical pianist. And so I'm out of state. I find out I'm pregnant. I call him and I said, hey, I've gotten some news for you.
4 weeks later.
And he goes, well, I got some news for you. And I'm like, well, you tell me first. He's like, I went to church tonight. I gave my life to Jesus. I'm saved. I'm going to be a preacher. I had never heard this before from him because he never spoke to me about Jesus. So, and he's like, my life has changed. I said, well, preacher, I'm pregnant.
Dang.
And first he asked me a question.
Who? Because I'm like, you've been gone for 4 weeks.
Come on.
I'm like, you're in Richmond, Virginia.
I am not you.
You know.
Oh.
Dang. She clocked that T, didn't she? She clocked that T crazy. She said, I ain't you. That's crazy work, bro. I ain't you. Somebody said he laughed way too hard on me. That laugh a little too heavy, boy. I
am not you.
So the first thing I told her, I said, keep the baby. Yep. I'll help you.
Right. Which was a miracle.
Because the plan was always, if something ever happened, we got to get an abortion.
We always knew that.
We don't want anything to interrupt our future, our life, and so on and so forth. But when she got home a week or two later, we only lived a half a mile from each other.
Right.
So we met up at
half a mile.
Yes, half a mile. We went to different high schools, though, thank God, because if we went to the same high school, it wouldn't have worked. But we went to different high schools.
So we met up when she got back from Richmond. And I met up with her, and I'm like, we're gonna keep this thing pushing. We're gonna have the baby.
He was radically saved, going to church, living for Jesus, just changed his life completely. And then after we got married, about a couple months after we got married, he looked at me and said, I never had fun. And I didn't know what that meant.
As an adult.
Literally, he backslid for 5 years. Yeah. So he left this holy lifestyle back to smoking, drinking.
That's why I said she better than me.
My brother.
No. And it's because they had a child out of wedlock, and I feel like at that point they felt obligated to marry one another, because when you go to church, you get pregnant out of wedlock, everybody be looking at you sideways like, you did all this and y'all not even married type thing. So
but he said first off, she was already on the roster. And she was already known about the roster. So it's like, how you actively rostering, and then one day you just wake up and be like, hey, gang, I ain't really had fun for real. Like,
define fun. What
define fun.
What's your definition of fun? Because to me, it sounded like you was having a whole lot of fun.
But he said, dang, I'm out here raising kids, bro. I ain't never really had fun for real, bro. So I'm gonna go to the club and go. I'm gonna go to the club and lay it down real quick. I love you. I'll be back. Like, what do you mean, buddy?
She is holding herself very well.
No, she holding herself better than most
She's already
people.
been through the worst of the worst. So it's just like,
at this point,
what more is there to fret or cry or grieve about? She's stuck with him for 25 years.
that's a true ride or die.
Her emotions are probably numb to it.
Yeah, it's scary.
She conditioned herself.
Smoking
for
weed,
that one.
drinking, chasing women. We would fight. Our house became the party house because my relationship with Jesus was attached to him. So if he went to church, I went to church. If he didn't go to church, I didn't go to church. And it is a form of idol worship, which I know that now. But he was my connection to Jesus. So at that time, I was chasing with knives, trying to jump on hoods of cars, fighting women. You know, that was kind of a common thing. We were living in Section 8 housing on food stamps, having children, and it got so crazy that one day I said, you know, I can't do this anymore because someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to either go to jail or get killed. Seriously.
So basically, Jasmine Sullivan, I broke the windows out your car was the theme
Absolutely.
song of your marriage. And
No
everything.
problem.
You over here jumping on hoods.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's a true
Finding
story.
him at clubs, confronting just the whole thing. It
So
was
help me
nuts.
understand that. So
Bro was in the club. Yeah. Door kicked open. Shorty in there with a switchblade.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Baby, what you doing? You know today was my cheat day. It's like, what?
Every day your cheat day.
Come on now, baby. I told you I was going to be out here. You know my body. It's like, what?
What?
Don't get on the roller coaster if you don't look the way the ride drop. The sign says height limit. You should have known what it was.
Nah, bro.
So you mad at the stripper, but you wasn't mad that I had Chelsea yesterday. If you're going to pick a battle, you need to stay at 10 toes. You see in the book of, it's like, what? Boy, ain't no way this is real.
what happened to where you found yourself on the hood? He's in the car? Or
Yeah, trying to leave.
Oh, so
And I
he's in the
just-
car. He ain't with the woman.
No.
She would sometimes hide my keys and help
And
me
help him look for
him.
him.
That's how bad it was.
You would
Yes.
hide the keys and,
And help him look.
look.
Yes. Be hunting. Where could they be?
And then yeah. And then back then you didn't have GPS. We didn't have cell phones. And so my friends would be like, "Hey, Reggie, man, your wife found us. She went in the club."
Yeah.
How would you find them?
I had mental GPS.
All my friends
called
call her.
Holy Spirit.
That's right. Well,
They call her to this day Detective Kelly.
I could find anything. I would check mileage. I'd find hairs in the car. Whose hair is this?
Hair fibers.
Yeah.
You missed your college. You're supposed to work for forensics.
Well,
she-
sure.
she
I actually
missed
ended
her
up working for the
calling.
police, actually. But
Oh, you did?
For 13 years.
So finally, I was about.
Yes,
This is
sir.
true.
Yeah.
So I finally was like,
13
I'm going to
13
leave him.
years.
At this point, I was working my way out of poverty. I got the job with the police department, and my aunt found me a job in Virginia to have me
Yeah.
work there because I was going to leave. It was really bad, and I had my two babies with me trying to leave, and I put my hand on the door. And I'm not going to say God told me to stay or leave, but I felt like I couldn't leave, and I cried because I felt like I can't leave. And I went to bed that night and I had a dream of him preaching.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning. Well, first of all, you were upset that I was still home.
Yeah, because I got home. I'm like, I thought you were moving to Virginia with the two kids. And she said, I had a dream that you became a preacher. I said, that's not going to happen.
Right.
I said, just because my dad does that mean I got to be disciplined and committed. And I'm not trying to be either one.
Right.
You
And
know,
he said, I'm going to keep on smoking this weed
Yeah.
and chasing these women.
Yeah.
That's what he told me. And
It sounds like Stockholm syndrome or something.
Yeah. I was gonna say it, but you know,
That's what that sound like. It sounds like she just described Stockholm syndrome.
yeah.
Because it's like, I'm going to do this thing that's going to hurt you. I'm going to do this thing that's destructive, and I'm not going to change my ways. And I know this hurts you, and I know this is making you suffer, but this is what I want to do, so I'm going to keep doing it. That sounds like Stockholm syndrome, like, to me.
Yeah. But you know, I ain't I ain't a therapist, psychologist, or nothing like that, so I'm not going to attach it
Yeah, no,
to
that's
them.
facts.
But you know,
That's just what it sound like to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I just felt like that dream could happen. I believed it. And one night, shortly after that, I was by myself because the marriage was still horrible, crashing. And I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Because, you know, you have all these moments, you know, God's amazing because you'll have moments of clarity and then moments of complete confusion.
Yeah.
And I was rocking back and forth. Remember, like, I'm going to lose my mind because it left again. It's gone again. And I heard the enemy tell me, you should die. You're not you're not worthy of anything. You should, you know, end your life and he'll never love you and all this stuff. And somehow, some way I was able to call on the name of Jesus. And when I called on his name, I literally felt his arms wrap around me. And that was my first encounter. I wasn't at church. I was by myself. There was no music playing. The lights weren't dim. None of that. It was me and Jesus. And I had a radical heart shift from that moment. I got in my word, under my word. I just completely changed as a person. And I realized that God loves me, that God has a purpose and plan for my life, that God chose me, that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
So he would call me out my name. It wouldn't bother me because I allowed God's voice to be louder than his. And when I was going through transition of him not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling
Dang, hold on. You not finna.
Because you got to understand, even though I don't agree with it at all, you got to understand where he was and where he was spiritually at that time. He's smoking weed, he's drinking, he's sleeping with random loose women. So he's battling and fighting all these different types of demons and type of, you know, challenges in life and stuff like that. And that's going to show up in your flesh. It's going to show up in your flesh because he's indulging in it 24/7.
Yeah, this sounded like pure abuse.
If he never had I'm trying to process.
Yeah, you feel me?
He's gonna call me out my names.
Call you out your name is crazy work.
All of it is crazy work. All of it is, but you know.
telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you.
Right.
I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I would say, you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night. And these are all things I was graced to do.
What up, MLTG? Hey, keep the cursing to a minimum, folk. Keep the cursing to a minimum, folk. Hey, shout out to you though.
He said MLTG is crazy.
Don't even do that, bro. Laza, bro. My fault, folks. My fault. I ain't been in D10 in a minute. Hey, how you been, Laza? Hopefully you been straight, man. We in a new city now, Laza, if you want to tap in with us. But this is crazy work, bro.
I would not encourage anybody to do that unless you are graced by God to do this. But once I knew who I was, I realized, oh, the enemy's after him. So I began to pray for him, not for my husband before, but as a soul. I didn't want him to be lost. Whether we made it or not, I didn't want him to be lost. I wanted him to be in his purpose because of that one dream I had that lasted about 2 seconds.
And this is all true because I can remember before she had this encounter with God, I would come home 2-3 days later. My clothes would be bleached.
Yeah.
I would find my toothbrush floating in the toilet. So, and then the blessings that she wasn't home because she would have probably died.
Oh, I have wisdom.
Yeah,
Wisdom says you leave after you do that.
I'm looking at my K-Swiss
Wisdom
back
said,
then. I'm looking at my
wait. Hey, shout out to you, Laza. Wisdom says you leave. Wisdom
Don't tell you to do that at all.
Wisdom says don't be there to begin with. So you're telling me you was he actively just admitted he would have killed you. He would have in GTA, he would have killed you in GTA if he would have saw your retaliation to the stuff he was doing. And Wisdom said you know, hey, destroy that man's stuff and then leave and then come back?
Nah.
You said, KiteZz, what the heck is this? This is what y'all told me to watch. Don't get mad at me. Y'all asked for this. It's like, he gonna point at me like I chose this video. Y'all told me to watch this.
You sweater, my jeans.
Yeah, I bleached it all.
I bleached. And so weeks later, now I'm coming home 2-3 days later, and she's like, what do you want for dinner?
Yep.
You're like, I don't know if I'm gonna eat that. You're gonna poison me.
I said, she's going to kill me.
Right.
Now I'm sleeping with one eye open.
Yes. I'd
You
run
know
his
what I'm saying?
You're
bathwater.
acting too nice right
Yeah,
now.
Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute now. You know,
'Cause the worst-
I've been gone for 72 hours.
Yes.
Why
yes.
you treat me nice?
Right.
You want to, and then I'm looking to make sure she don't throw grease on me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
all of that. But then I started waking up with crosses on my head.
Because the mothers of the church said, pray for him with anointed oil. And I couldn't afford olive oil, so I just got the Crisco at home and blessed it. And I just put it on his head and his hands and his feet. And he'd wake up all greasy.
Yeah.
Her intentions
It's
were right.
it's not even about the oil, right? Because it don't matter, right? It's the intention behind what she's doing. So it sounds to me, this lady has a level of grace that I would pray for that level of grace.
Yeah.
Like, all jokes aside, that's a level of grace and character
Most people can't even achieve.
you gotta write a book about this. Because man,
Looking like 3-day-old chicken.
Right.
Yeah, greasy and hungover. He'd be like, what are you doing?
And then she would tell me, you gonna preach? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Proverbs 18:21, of course, says death and life is in the power of the tongue.
And they that love it eat the fruit thereof.
There
That's
you go.
right.
And she
So-
would speak those
And
things.
he would
I'm
not go to
like,
church.
No.
I would always be there.
Yeah.
And then he would call me a holy roller. Then he'd get me mad and then I'd end up cussing him out. He'd be like, where's Jesus now? You know,
He just been a devil. in
yes,
your
Right.
life.
yes, he was.
So Reggie, when you were hearing her say this, and this is conflicting.
boy,
He was antagonizing. He was trying to get, yeah.
I'll tell y'all now, the biggest way to heat me up is when people say something or they do something towards me, or they say something in a video and we react to it, and then they be like, that don't seem very Christian-like to me. It's like, first off, how do you know what's Christian if you over here trying to persecute me? So what's Christian on your end?
And people will purposely pick with people or pick with Christians just to get a rise out of us to see how we're gonna react. And the second we react the opposite way of what we should, because people forget that we're human too, and we're not exempt from sin, and we're not exempt from caving into our flesh and stuff like that. Oh, where's Jesus now? Oh.
It's like, stop playing with me, yo. Because at the end of the day, I know the spirit of repentance.
Exactly.
Don't do that, man. But this interview is crazy. Bro, it's like every minute is something happening, and I'm just like, yo, like,
Spirit, because of course she's battling against that the evil spirit that's inside you. She's warring against that.
Yeah.
What in your subconscious? Because there's always moments where in the Bible it says the prodigal son says, and he came to himself.
Right.
So in those moments where that battle is taking place, what were you thinking internally? Even though your mouth may be uttering, "You crazy, you this," but the words that you weren't saying. Can you go back to that moment and tell me internally what were you saying? What were you seeing her as?
I saw her as the enemy.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna stay black and die, like she said, and chase women, smoke weed. That's where my mind was, because I've been overtaken.
Yeah.
I was having fun. Even the Bible says that sin is good for a season. So I was having a phenomenal time. The last thing I wanted to be was connected to her, connected to the church.
Right.
Because then that's work.
So why did you stay? Why were you still coming home?
Because I had 2 kids. Well, then by that time we had 3. I was always a phenomenal father. I was a horrible husband.
Yeah, he was.
But when it came to my kids, you know what I'm saying?
And so you looked at being outside the home as a failure. But you had to stay in the household,
Right.
no matter how you showed up as a husband. But you wasn't going to relinquish your responsibility as a father.
I would tell her all the time, I'm not going to let another. I had 2 daughters who are right now 31 and 29, and I always told her, I'm not going to let another man come here and feed my children, my daughters especially. That's
Right.
not going to happen on my watch. So I just said, well, and plus I came from a 2-parent home. Even though my dad had 10 kids by 6 different women, he married my mom and had me and my 3 sisters.
Right.
So before that, he had 6 kids.
Yeah.
So coming from a 2-parent home, that's all I knew. So I'm like, we just going to work this out. So I came from dysfunction. You
And
know
that
what
was
I'm
our
saying?
normal. So
Yeah.
there was even one time one of his girlfriends came to my job to confront me because she found out about me. And I'd be like, chick, I'm the wife. But anyway, she asked
She came
me,
to confront you because she
did.
found out
She
about
found
you?
out about me.
I just want y'all to paint this picture, right?
Did she get to walk out the room?
That part. Because I want y'all to get this imagery, right? This is how extreme this is. Because maybe to some people it's like, oh, it's just the regular, like, this is how extreme this is. Imagine there's a kingdom, right? Like England, old school England. And the king is in the room asleep, so the queen is out front handling all the stuff. She's talking to the knights, the dukes. She's handling her business, talking to everybody, being friendly, doing what queens are supposed to do, carrying herself elegantly. And a random farm chick walking in the kingdom, she walk into the throne room and say, "Stop sleeping with my man." If it's like,
Yo, man.
you don't see the crowd? Like, what? And like Alex said, she walked out.
Not saying I condone any type of like violence.
We don't
or
condone
anything,
no violence, but
that's crazy.
I condone reactions.
Yeah.
She had to explain to her,
And
I
said,
work
"Listen,
2 jobs.
I go, why would I get rid of him?
He works
He
2
works
jobs.
2 jobs. Sometimes you can't afford divorce. I'm like, he's making rent. We got to work this out. And I let her know I'm not. And she's like, are you going to leave him? I'm like, no, I'm not leaving him. I said, we're just work it out like we always do. And she didn't understand that. But
She said she didn't understand that. So what was she trying to do? Get rid of you so she can keep you?
Yeah,
I guess.
that was the
but
plan.
he was
That was the plan.
Listen, he was financially an asset at that time, but I did reach a point where I was
Pay attention to the keywords. Pay attention to the keywords. Pay attention.
She picked and chose her battles. Some would say it wasn't wise, but
You gotta pay attention to them keywords.
is the money in the room with us?
Yep, that's basically what it was. You stupid, blah, blah, blah. Hey, but you paid my bills, though. I'm finna go sleep with Sydney. Hey, shoot, my bills is paid, though.
Sydney.
At least I ain't gotta go, like, what?
Sydney is crazy.
This is crazy.
tired, and I finally prayed the prayer. It's probably about 5 years into our process. Lord, do whatever it takes to save him. Because although I was going to
As you
church,
should.
praying, doing all this, it didn't seem to be making a difference.
So this is going on for 5 years.
Sure.
When he had a reprobate mind.
Yes, completely. And I was working for the police department as a dispatcher. It was 3:00 in the morning. I worked nights. He worked days because we couldn't afford daycare. I was dispatching. I got a call of an armed robbery in process. I got the canine, the air unit, set up a perimeter. We were chasing him. We pulled the car over, arrested them, and it was him.
And my cousin.
Oh,
Well, you asked God to do whatever it takes to save him. So now he gonna have to go. That ain't gonna. Well, saved him. If he went to jail, it saved him because he here now. But man,
so was the money good legally? That's my question. Was the money good legally? Because if you arm robbing and you breaking in people's cribs, was the money legal?
at some point, I want to believe. I think it was.
Because it's like there has to. You don't just jump straight into armed robbery. There's steps to it, right?
True.
You don't just like there's tiers to criminality.
Yeah.
Like first it starts off with like scamming, set claiming, jumping people, stealing. armed robbery is like up there because now it's like you willing to.
It's planned out. It's like
you willing to die about it.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? So I don't believe we just immediately skipped up to, armed robbery casually.
That's a level 3. That's a level 3.
Yeah, you skipping prestiges, man.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Kermit the Frog at this moment. This is T.
Don't do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you say you got the call and it was him?
It was him committing armed robbery.
Yeah.
Caught him.
Yeah.
And he was arrested.
I was arrested, me and my cousin.
Yep. So he is now facing 7 to 21 years in prison.
Yeah.
7 to 21.
I got off the floor, told my sergeant what happened because I didn't want to lose my job because you can't be married to a criminal.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't know what he was doing. And my first thought was, who has my kids? Because it was 3 a.m. But
my baby sister, she would come in and watch the kids while I'm out.
While he robbed people.
And I kept a few dollars in her pocket.
Oh, this is an ongoing thing you used to do. She just never knew she was robbing.
No, didn't know.
It's ongoing.
And had no idea because he was a psych tech during the day. And a robber at night.
Yeah.
Call about double-minded. This is what I was living with.
Yeah.
And so I finally.
Let me tell y'all something. I never knew all this when I invited him on the podcast.
Right.
This is a whole different story.
Yeah.
Just a marriage I found fascinating. This right here, this is a whole movie.
It is.
It's a whole
It's gotta be a
in jail
Tubi
for-
movie. This has to be a Tubi movie because I want to see it. Tubi, somebody on Tubi, get this before Tyler Perry take it, please.
Bro was out.
No, I need to watch it. I need to
Boy
see
was
it.
out here hitting licks.
No, I need to see it. A Lifetime, something, a soap, something.
He was out here being devious.
something.
3 days. You can take
And
it.
then during that day 3, I was on the top bunk. I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. I had a Bible in my hand. I'm reading the Bible. 3 seconds later, they said, still roll up over the intercom. And I looked at my bunkie. He was down under me. And I said, hey, man, did they say still? He said, I think so. So I go up to the front and they say, yeah, you've been bonded out. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you've been bonded out. So when I got out in the parking lot, I saw my wife out there and my mom and dad. I looked at my dad. I said, I'm ready to be a preacher.
True story.
That's not how that works. That's crazy work. We got to stop doing that, y'all. Because we not calling on God when we out here doing our deeds, frolicking in sin and all that kind of stuff. But the second that we get in trouble, Lord, if you just get me out of this one time, I'll do right by you. Then go back and do the same stuff we just told God we wasn't gonna do no more.
But I think that's the beauty of Jesus in general.
Yeah, because he shows a lot of grace in that too.
That's the beauty of Jesus. Believing in Jesus in general is the fact that Jesus is the payment for the mistakes that you make. So I guess at the end of the day, this is a good testimony.
Yeah, it is.
Even though to us, like, we got to remember as humans, to us, it's easy for us to be like, oh, like, yeah, he became a preacher after this. He only did it because he kept getting in trouble. But it's like the whole point of Jesus was he's the payment so we don't get the punishment we deserve.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can completely see how this would lead to him being a preacher. But what you're talking about is very valid because there's a lot of people that Jesus comes and he's that payment. But then that don't mean you get to go pull out another loan from it. You feel what I'm saying?
You're taking full advantage. You're taking it for granted.
Right. Grace is not a get out of jail free card that you can keep using every time you feel like just using it. You feel what I'm saying?
That was the conversion.
That was the conversion. Listen, when God did that in 3 seconds, not 3 minutes, not 30 minutes, when I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. 3 seconds later, they said, still roll up.
Yep.
And when I went outside, I told my dad I'm ready to accept my call. And you know what, my dad, the best thing he ever did, he said, well, if you want to be a preacher now that you're in all this trouble, he said, you and Kelly clean my church every Monday and Thursday, and then I'll let you preach in the next year. And so every month,
do that for a year.
And I'm grateful for my dad because he gave me a mop and not a mic. Because, yeah. I was 24 years old.
Yep.
And I didn't start preaching until I was 25, which is, I'm 53 now. So we're talking 28 years ago.
Right.
And we cleaned that church every Monday, every Thursday. And we would lay our 3 kids would be with us.
Babies.
They were babies.
And the altar.
And they would lay them in the altar while we cleaned the church, the bathrooms and all that. And, and then a year later, my dad said, "You ready?" And then I preached a message January 1997 called "Roll with the Punches."
That's right.
Out of 1 Peter 4:12, thinking not strange concerning fiery trials. So Romans 8:28 says, "And we know all things
work together
for the good to them that love God
and are
that are called according to his purpose." And speaking of purpose, see, I think part of the problem with a lot of people that are married or not married, they're looking more for preference over purpose. I believe that this is my purpose.
Right.
Because she really wasn't my preference.
I wasn't.
But when she opened the door at 17 years old and I was 18, and I said, "Oh my God." And she said, "What?" I said, "You're my wife."
Yep.
I knew it.
Yep.
And
I
here I am
believed
in a backslidden condition, but I knew she was my wife.
Right.
Straight up. We need people to start kind of looking more for purpose than preference.
That's right.
Facts.
Listen, I want y'all to just keep on talking because I'm going to show y'all an episode in my first season called Preference versus Purpose.
Oh.
That was the first thing that God, that's what God told me way back then.
That's the Lord.
One.
Hey, nah, that's 100%. Hey, Dexter Young, thank you for the follow, family. Hey,
You see that?
what? Right here.
I can't even see. Oh.
Hey, shout out Dexter. Hey, bro. No, that's real talk.
No, yeah.
That's real talk. I'm not even mad at that. That's real talk because it's like, all jokes aside, his story sounds crazy, but like I said, it's about the fact that his story is not. His story is this is what I used to do and this is how I was operating versus this is where I am at now. You get what I'm saying?
That's the whole purpose of a testimony.
And the sad part is I feel like a lot of people are dang.
Everybody kept saying, "I pray I don't a marriage like this never enters my life." They was cooking her in the comments. Yeah.
Dang, they deep frying him, man.
Yeah.
They deep frying, buddy. My thing is, it's like people got to remember that it's the testimony though. Like we're making fun of it, we're making jokes of it. It's because it's an overwhelming story, but
Yeah, it is.
at the end of the day, y'all got to remember that it's still a testimony. You get what I'm
And
saying?
if those people are happy like that, that's their business. You know?
Right.
If they're happy, that's their business.
If the man who is treating you like trash is not sent from God, that's a debate because God can use anybody.
Yes, he can.
So that's the debate because God can use anybody. God has used murderers.
Your enemies.
He's Paul. He used David, all them. So it's like the main thing is this is 28 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If he's held it down this 28 years, his 28 years far outweigh the years from 18 to 24 that he made mistakes. That's only 6 years. So don't let the bad 6 years outweigh the fact that he's been spending the last 28 redeeming himself of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And nobody's saying tolerate that, but you know.
But it's like I'm not mad at it. I'm happy he got it together. I'm happy that they still married.